So we're recapping the midterms, and let's get with the good news first and then the bad news second. Or maybe we should have did bad news first and good news second. Anyway, it's good and it's bad. So here's some of it. In Florida, 25-year-old Florida Democrat secures Generation Z's first House seat. That's Maxwell Alejandro Frost, who focused on issues important to many young voters. That's gun violence, climate change, abortion rights, and Medicare for all. Maxwell is literally in the House. And in Illinois, 23-year-old Nabila Saeed made history. Let's take a look at her tweet. My name is Nabila Saeed. I'm a 23-year-old Muslim Indian American woman. We just flipped a Republican-held suburban district. And in January, I'll be the youngest member of the Illinois General Assembly. You better go ahead on, girl. Preach that sermon. And John Fetterman and Josh Shapiro weren't the only ones in Pennsylvania to have big wins. And we are so glad that they both had big wins, and especially big ups to Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman for doing the daggone thing, letting folks know that a stroke was not gonna hold him back, and really standing in the ready position for otherly abled people as people tried to trash him and put him down. But the voters of Pennsylvania let him know what it was all about. So he is going to the Senate. But guess what? Summer Lee becomes the first Black woman elected to Congress from the great state of Pennsylvania. Baby, Pennsylvania was rocking and rolling last night. Make no mistake about it. And we know that Summer Lee was attacked, Adrienne viciously attacked both in the primary and she was attacked in the general election. Countless organizations were spending millions and millions of dollars against her, super PAC organizations against her to try to defeat her both in the primary and also in the general. But she let them know what it was. The voters let them know what it was. And in Maryland, Moore, a Democrat, will become Maryland's first Black governor. Wes Moore, the celebrity author and former nonprofit executive, defeated a far-right Republican backed by former President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, all that happened last night. And in New Hampshire, James Rosner is the first out trans man elected to a US state legislature. In the House. And we can't forget about the wonderful, wonderful ballot measures. Michigan, California, Vermont affirm abortion rights in state ballot proposals. Voters in all three states amended their constitution to include reproductive rights, while Kentucky voters rejected. Can I just say that one more time? Bolded, underlined it. Y'all know, exclamation pointed. An amendment that would have said there was no right to the procedure. You go ahead on Kentucky. And then in Maryland, Missouri voters approved recreational pot. While similar ballot measures failed elsewhere, the results brought the total number of states that have legalized recreational marijuana to 21. Literally, let the good times roll. Adrienne?
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of that, for real. I just hope that they actually do something to, help out the people that they may have incarcerated who were involved in cannabis, whether the use, sale, or distribution, since we all know it's a moneymaker and also that is less dangerous than the alcohol that is sold on every other corner. So that's just my thoughts as far as that goes. I do definitely love all of the changes, the first of a kind that shouldn't be first if we truly got a democracy where people are all treated equally. But still, I will uplift them, and I am excited to see so many new faces, different faces, faces of color, different background, gender, what may have you, and the change that's there. There was no red wave, and I can dig it.
No, I'm digging it too, Adrienne. This is definitely totally good news. And your point about making sure that as cannabis becomes legalized all across this country, both for medicinal purposes and also for recreational purposes, that the people who bore the brunt of the war on drugs are not left out. And that's gonna have to be done deliberately. We're gonna need government to step in and say that it is going to be so. One of my biggest fears that the big tobacco companies, alcohol companies, and other type companies are gonna try to slide their way on in there. They didn't suffer any of the consequences of the war on drugs. And we who are conscious minded folks cannot allow this to happen. And especially Black communities and brown communities and our allies from other communities. Y'all better go ahead and show on up. And to these elected officials, make it be known that you're not gonna stand for letting these big mega corporations take advantage of the legalization of cannabis. Meanwhile, back in the hoods where people were locked the hell up, that those communities don't benefit economically in terms of ownership. Adrienne, we can't let that happen. That must not happen. We gotta stand firm on that.
Absolutely, we need that investment there for people to be, number one, to have an access to being able to have businesses that are cannabis businesses, putting people at the front of the line for that. Because the thing is, as we know, cannabis became, condemned and became criminalized because of racism, because it was Black and brown people who were using it. And so it's been Black and brown people who have disproportionately suffered when it came to its criminalization. So it needs to be Black and brown people who are uplifted the most when it comes to its legalization and its recreational, activity and usage. And so that is something, as you've noted, that the government has to step up and do, and it needs to make this wrong into a right.
That's right, correct the injustice, and they can do it. We're gonna make sure that they do it. Now, but with the good comes a little bad. Here we go. In Florida, big win for Ron DeSantis, who could potentially be a front runner in 2024 with the Republicans. Now, we know that former President Donald J. Trump is probably gonna try to not let that happen, but the man won big. The sanctimonious. I don't care what they say. Trump can name some folks. The sanctimonious won big and has an eye already towards 2024. In Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Tot Greene wins again. Marjorie Taylor Greene is reelected and poised for more power in the GOP. The Georgia Republicans' racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories put her on the party's fringes, but she is likely to play a more central role in the next Congress. I bet she will. Over in Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee follows in her father's footsteps. Republican Sarah Huckabee Sanders elected as the first woman governor of Arkansas. And in Louisiana, I hate to say this, I'm going to say it, and I'm not joking. In Louisiana, voters were tricked into keeping slavery alive. Yes, they were, the 21st century, to keep slavery alive. Muddled amendment to clarify slavery ban in Louisiana was rejected by the voters. Adrienne, I don't even understand this.
No, but the thing is it seems like it's right on point given how much Louisiana benefits from prison slavery, from the labor there. And so to be able to put something essentially on the ballot that people don't necessarily understand, that just seems par for course.
It does, and the language, ballot language does matter. I don't understand why they have to put language in legalese on ballots.
Yes.
Why don't they take the legalese, take that legalese and put it into common person's language and put it on the ballot so more people, and that's not just in Louisiana, it's all over the country where these ballot initiatives, you can't make out heads from tails unless you really study the issue. And most of the time you got to call a lawyer, just ask, hey, interpret this for me. It should not be that way. So that's something that folks should work on who care about those types of issues.